in this video we will be discussing advertising, which is an important part of the promotion element of the marketing mix. We will look at exactly what it is and the various methods that can be used. The advertising game is constantly changing, and there is so much that I want to show you that it can't all be squeezed into just one video. Because of this, in this episode we will only focus on non-virtual advertising, and in another video we will explore the modern world of virtual advertising, such as social media, in greater detail. So, what do you think when somebody says the word advertising? Do you think about your favourite YouTube ads, the latest John Lewis Christmas advert, the huge billboards advertising you should have gone to Specsavers, or the prominent posters at tube stations across London? Many of us could easily point to something and say that there is an advert, but it's a little more difficult to specify exactly what it is, and even trickier to know how to do it well. From the very beginnings in the printed press to the present day with social media advertising and product placement in video games, advertising has changed dramatically over the years. But the need for advertising has never changed, and the most efficient methods remain the same, even now. So I guess the first thing we should cover is, what is advertising? Advertising is a marketing strategy that involves paying for a certain space to promote a product, service, or even a cause. This could be a physical space, like a billboard, or a virtual space, like a banner on a website. The actual promotional message you place there are called advertisements, or ads for short. The goal of advertising is to reach people most likely to be willing to pay for your product or service, and persuade them to buy it. Persuade is the most important word here. Advertising is designed to convince the potential customer to buy from you. Great advertising is designed to be extremely memorable, influential, and at times even a little controversial. The idea of really good advertising is to break through all of the everyday distractions we as consumers see everywhere we turn, grab our attention, and deliver us a message. To all the teachers out there, show all of these videos without any ads and gain access to our growing library of over 500 teaching worksheets. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? So, before we go any further, let's introduce this video's main example. This is Jayden, who has recently taken over running the Danbury Wildlife Park from his mother, who started the park back in 1990. After purchasing a rundown house with a large amount of land, she had hoped to give new life to a house and a park that she loved, and to share her interest in nature with as many people as possible. Over 30 years later, Jayden was delighted to take over the running of what is now one of the UK's largest wildlife parks, and one of the most exciting gardens to visit with your family. Millions of visitors have discovered the beauty and the diversity of the natural world through visiting the park over the years. However, in April 2020, the closure of all wildlife parks due to the COVID-19 pandemic meant that Jayden and the rest of the team at Danbury had a particularly difficult year. The park relies totally on funding from visitors and receives no outside help from any other sources. So the closure of the park for over 4 months had left Jayden and the team in a particularly difficult situation. Even though, as the summer approached, they were once again able to open the park, they would then have to ensure they received as many visitors as possible to survive the rest of the year. To do this, Jayden decided that creating a successful advertising campaign was the way to go, and we will discuss throughout this video how best he can use advertising to keep the park open. Bring this video and over 100 more to life with fun, interactive games, quizzes and case studies. Why not try the first 25 completely free by visiting BizzWizard.co.uk. Businesses like Jayden's can use advertising for many different purposes. To raise awareness of a brand, to gain potential customers, to promote sales of both new and existing products, to introduce a new product or service to the market, and finally, to differentiate a product from their competitors. As we have discussed in another video on the purpose of marketing, Advertising and marketing are two different things. Let's make sure we understand how advertising differs from marketing. Marketing is much more about the big picture, the big strategy, and the mapped out plan of how you are going to persuade your target market to purchase your product. It's like a battle plan laid out before war. Advertising, however, is much more focused around the particular message and how you intend to deliver that message to your target audience. Advertising is just one small ingredient in the recipe that is marketing. Now, let's think back to Jayden and the Danbury Wildlife Park. They need to use advertising to increase the number of visitors to their park after the COVID pandemic. Otherwise, the park may have to close because they will struggle to raise revenues, leading to difficulties paying all of their expenses. Therefore, the fate of the animals that live there and the employees who work there is uncertain. So, what methods can Jayden and his team consider using to advertise the park? Firstly, print advertising. Print advertising refers to posters, postcards, flyers, and other physically printed promotion. It also refers to newspapers and magazine adverts, as these are actually printed and are tangible. Jayden might decide to advertise Danbury in both local and national newspapers, and also in magazines that appeal to people who are interested in wildlife and conservation. He might decide to approach other businesses used by his potential customers, for example, by partnering with hotels and other tourist attractions in his local area to display posters or leaflets promoting the wildlife park. How we design and consume print advertising has changed over the years, but it's been a constantly effective method for centuries. Unlike digital advertising, which we will look at in another video, print advertising can't be tracked and analysed as clearly. What I mean here is, let's say you print 1,000 flyers for your new restaurant and you send employees out to hand them to potential customers. You then have a really successful opening weekend and believe that this is because of all of your lovely flyers. But what if it wasn't? What if it was another reason? It is really difficult to measure the success of printed advertising. Okay, so next Jayden and the team could consider billboards and public transport ads. Billboard advertising encompasses print advertising, but on a much larger scale. Due to their size, the design, placement and cost of billboard and public transport ads, like those seen on the side of a bus, are different from the typical printed adverts like a flyer. For example, billboards are typically designed with few to no words, so that viewers have time to process the message while passing by in a car or on a train. Also, these ads are used for brand awareness, so they usually only include a brand name or a phone number. Jayden might use ads on billboards within a certain radius of the wildlife park as a way of creating more awareness with the public. Or he may invest in advertising on local buses or train services. So, on to our next advertising option, TV commercials. TV commercials are short advertisements developed and paid for by companies and organisations looking to capture the audience of a TV show. TV ads have been around since the invention of the television and have since changed drastically with the birth of streaming TV. Jayden may decide to look into TV advertising, particularly if he can create a memorable advert that sticks in people's minds. This ad can be shown in the ad breaks of very popular TV programs that people still tend to watch live. However, he might find that the cost of creating a TV ad and then paying to secure a decent slot on primetime TV is way too expensive. TV ads have a wide reach of millions, but they are mostly useful for mass market products or services. What I mean here is a product or service that loads of people all around the country may want to buy. Jayden and the park don't necessarily fit this bill. TV ads are also really expensive, avoidable by your audience, and hard to target as accurately as other methods. It's important to remember that even though TV advertising may not be as popular or even as useful as it once was, some of the most iconic ads of all time have featured on TV. Each of the video courses over at BizzWizard.co.uk also includes an interactive business case study that applies the knowledge learnt to a real-world scenario. There are over 1,000 multiple-choice questions, each with detailed feedback, which tests students' understanding of the content. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? The final option we will consider in this video is the radio. Radio advertising refers to spoken advertising spots aired on radio channels, between music and other programs. This method dates back to 1920, when commercial radio first aired regular advertising. An extension of this would now be podcasts. Nowadays, podcast advertising is a similar but arguably more effective method, especially for national audiences. So, Jayden might decide to advertise the park on local or even national radio programs. I think it's fair to say, in this scenario, local radio would likely be more effective as these listeners are able to travel relatively quickly for a day at the park. In fact, if Jayden is feeling particularly clever, he may have the adverts aired around 8 to 8:30 in the morning, or 3 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Why? Well, this is the time that parents are doing the school run, and these listeners may be just the target audience that may spend a family day at Danbury Wildlife Park. Jayden might also try to identify podcasts that are popular with families, or are subscribed to by people with an interest in wildlife or conservation. You'll notice the discussed advertising methods don't dive into digital advertising. That's something we'll unpack in another video. Between print ads, radio sponsorship, TV adverts and social media promotion, the opportunities for Jayden and the team to raise awareness of the park are endless. It will really come down to how successful they can use the mix of these strategies, and if they are able to make a memorable impression and build their brand. If you find yourself, like I hope that you do, trying to advertise your own product or service, remember to consider these methods. Done successfully, you will be able to create a strong brand image that magically pulls customers towards your business, generates revenue, and helps to increase your chances of success. This has been the BizzWizard.